The Jordan Love situation is interesting because he finally got an opportunity. He was sitting for a while, and now you got to pay him. The question is, when do you pay? We go back to the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones, he's a billionaire a few times over, but sometimes doesn't seem like a great businessman when it comes to contracts, certainly for Dak Prescott. The longer you wait, the more it costs you. Unless one of the sides is not convinced that they want to continue with this relationship. Does Dak want to continue this relationship? Now, he makes a lot of money off the field because he's the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. If he was Carolina's quarterback, no one would care. He's the Cowboys quarterback. He's going to make a lot of money, and the money that he'll make, in endorsements will probably be similar to what Mahomes makes with the Kansas City Chiefs. But we keep pushing the can, kicking the can down the road here. And eventually, Dak Prescott, you just play the waiting game. Unless they're going to let him just play. Now, they can't, franchise him. So they're kind of stuck in this situation unless Dak goes, you know what? Maybe I'll go someplace else. Maybe I don't want to deal with the bright lights of the Cowboys where everything is scrutinized. Maybe. I would think that Jerry is going to eventually pay him. The question is, do you just pay him now? What if you had paid him 2 months ago? Because everybody else is getting their money. So Jordan Love is going to make more than Trevor Lawrence. Because he's next up, he's going to make more. And then Tua is waiting. I mean, this is how the game is played. And then Dak is going to be waiting. It's inflation. It's quarterback inflation. You're going to have to pay. The Green Bay Packers are in a great situation from the standpoint of maybe they found their next franchise quarterback. So if you get 40 years of great quarterback play, how many other franchises can say that? Now, they didn't get as many Super Bowls as you would expect over that time period, but Jordan Love was great last year. Do you go all in on somebody that, okay, he was great for 1 year? I'm always hesitant because I've seen a lot of these quarterbacks, they're like, wow, that guy's good. I mean, Mac Jones was good in New England. They went to the playoffs. I mean, that's the thing. How long do you wait before you go, okay, I've seen enough? Have you seen enough with Tua? How much will be enough with Brock Purdy? Because there's either you like your quarterback and you give him $50 million, or you don't, and then you move on from him. There's no middle ground, unless it's like Baker Mayfield, who had bounced around and then he found kind of a sweet spot there. That's sort of what you're looking at with these quarterbacks. You either love them or you're going to let them go. But if you keep them and you love them, they're going to continue to cost you. And it keeps, the meter is running here. And with Jordan Love, have they seen enough? Are they sold on him? Was last year just the start of something? Was it an aberration? Do they need to see a little bit more? Packers GM Brian Gutekunst.
We're very down the road as far as we know that he's our franchise quarterback, and we're ready to move forward. It's not like we're trying to make that decision. But at the same time, we want to put the best team around him we can. And we want to make sure that, there's certainly the structure of it so that we can do what we need to do for our football team moving forward, not only this year but in years to come, is very, very important. Again, like I said, this is just part of it, not unexpected, and we'll work to get it done. And hopefully he won't miss too much time because it is, we got a lot of work to do. We think we have a very good football team, but we got to come together as a team, and he's a big part of that. So him being out there is important for us.
He's 25 years of age. Now, it's a cautionary tale. You could look at Carson Wentz with the Eagles, Jared Goff with the Rams. I mean, Jared Goff had a $135 million contract extension. He averaged 21 touchdowns and 14 and a half interceptions over the next 2 seasons. Well, L.A. wanted to get rid of him so badly, they attached 2 first-round picks in order to offload his contract in a deal that brought Matthew Stafford to the Rams. So it did work out, but teams extending their quarterbacks, and you're not quite sure. Now, Jared Goff has played well with Detroit. Carson Wentz is a backup with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know he had the knee injury against the Rams. He was never the same quarterback. You see it, it happens, it's magic, and then all of a sudden you go, is it real? Is what I'm seeing real? Is it sustainable here? That is going to be the question for a lot of these GMs. Caleb Williams down the road. When do you see it? He's going to be the starter from day one. And then when do you go, when Denver traded for Russell Wilson, and you keep thinking, what were they seeing? They had to see something we didn't see because Russ diminishing returns here. Seattle was happy to get rid of him and one of the great deals in NFL history. And then all of a sudden he gets to Denver and it's as if he forgot how to play the game. Now he's in Pittsburgh and he'll probably hold on for dear life for the starting job there. It happens quickly. Success does, and so does failure. And if you're going to give somebody $50 million a year for 5 years, you're tying up, and that most of the time, a lot of it's guaranteed. So you have to be right, because if not, at that position, it's devastating. And Brian Gutekunst is talking about the roster. You fill in the roster. You want to, like what the Bears did with Caleb Williams. Very few quarterbacks, number one picks, have gone into a situation where you have that much talent that Caleb Williams has. So he's got an all-pro wide receiver. He's got another receiver, Rome Odunze, who might be an all-pro wide receiver. You got a good tight end. They bolstered the offensive line. My big question mark will be, the consistency with coaching, offensive coordinator, those kind of things. But Caleb Williams looks like he's ready to go. But Bryce Young, there was no infrastructure there for Bryce Young in Carolina, and he was exposed. If, the roles were reversed and I put Bryce Young in Chicago and Caleb Williams in Carolina, Bryce Young would probably succeed. It comes down to that. It's that tricky. It's just like Mahomes with Kansas City. He went into an ideal situation. He got to watch for a year and then take over a team that was really good. And you got a Hall of Fame coach. You stumble into Tyreek Hill. You find out that Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. That's the magic with all of this. There have been guys who have come into the league where I go, that guy is going to be great. David Klingler, he was unbelievable in college. Went to the Bengals. You probably have no idea who I'm talking about. But they weren't ready. The team wasn't great, and he didn't live up to the billing. Tim Couch, number one pick. And I thought, okay, he's a really good pocket passer, and then went to a bad organization. That's the tricky part of all of this. Is Dallas a great organization? Is Dak going to be the difference? You don't even have CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons. So these contract negotiations, when you talk about distractions to me are contracts, playing time, what goes on in the locker room. I don't look at Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift as a distraction. Now, once he drops a big pass in a game against Buffalo and he had just gone to her concert, then it'll be a big deal because we'll make it a big deal. But Rashee Rice racing cars, that's a bigger deal. Harrison Butker's comments at a commencement speech, that became a big deal. Isaiah Buggs with cruelty to animals, those are distractions. Those are bigger deals. And contracts. It's what you're getting paid. Are you a leader when you go into the locker room? Do guys begrudge the fact that you're making a certain amount of money? You got a situation with the Jets. Now, that's a distraction. Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up and makes it seem like, hey, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. It is. And it really was an embarrassing situation because all you have to do is check with your coach. And you weren't playing, so you had no distractions to plan your vacation over the summer. All you had to do is say, Coach, when is off-season workouts? When's mandatory camp? Okay, I'm planning on a trip to Egypt. That's called being respectful to your coach. And Aaron Rodgers was not. So your coach has to get in front of the media and go, it's an unexcused absence. That, it can't happen. You did nothing the year before. You get hurt. You should be all in. Remember, we're all in, and you're not all in. Those are distractions. Now you got Hassan Reddick, who they traded to get him from the Eagles. And I would think the first thing you do when you trade for somebody, you make sure they're going to sign because he wasn't going to sign with the Eagles. He wanted a certain amount of money. Now you get him, and now he's holding out. Those are distractions. And that's what you have to be aware of. Contract situations with the Cowboys. Jordan Love is at least with the team at the meetings. That's really important. And by most accounts, his teammates are probably saying, hey, you know what? He deserves more money. He's going to get a lot more money. But we do get into the distraction part of the equation now. Now into August. Distractions. You know, who's going to start? I don't know if it's a distraction in Pittsburgh. Do the players then realize that maybe Russell Wilson is not the starter, shouldn't be the starter, but he is the starter? These are tricky things. These are tricky times. So when the season starts, that's when it's different. Distractions now, these are contracts. Guys getting paid, wanting to get paid, wanting to get more. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, they're at the top of the food group here at their position. They're both. Micah's going to get $30 million. CeeDee's going to get $25 million, maybe more. And then you got Dak. So you're going to tie yourself up. And we said this last season. During the season, I said the Cowboys have a situation that's going to be a really big problem. But it's a good problem to have from the standpoint of you have an elite quarterback, an elite wide receiver, and an elite defensive player. And they're all going to cost you. When you draft, if you say, hey, I got a guy who's going to be MVP candidate, I got a wide receiver who's top 5, and I might have the best defensive player in football. All the headaches we've got. Because you got to pay them. Yes, Marvin.
With the holdouts, is it always the agent's idea to hold out or hold in Jordan Love's case?
I don't know. I mean, who's holding out? Hassan Reddick is, but I'm guessing that he has a certain amount of money that he wants to make. But quarterbacks, I mean, Tua's not holding out. Trevor Lawrence didn't threaten. Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert.
Well, I mean,
Lamar, they were going to leave him open. See, that's another thing. When John Harbaugh says this guy could be the greatest quarterback of all time, you were willing to let him go for 2 first-round draft picks. And I kept saying, Atlanta, go get him. Go get him. And then he becomes MVP. So I was thinking about that last night. Man, this guy, love him, vision, down the road, greatest quarterback of all time. But you could have had him for 2 first-round draft picks.
Up to a point.